Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up now. That's what they say, isn't it? In the pop songs.
That's the one. Heard that said.
Oh, brilliant.
That was Max Clifford. Nope, that's not going to help. Great. Let's. Who the fuck is Max Clifford? Is he a newspaper man? What is that? I was going for Cliff Richard.
but thinking of Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Fuck.
They are one and the same. Have you ever seen them in the same room together?
Not once.
No is the question. No is the question. No is the answer.
No is the question. No is the question and the answer today.
What a fucking shit start.
One Good Thing, the podcast that remembers cassettes. Remember them? Weren't they convenient? I'm Paulie S, aka Ready Salted.
I'm always in tune.
Yeah, you are. I'm not.
Not that attitude.
Today we shall be discussing music.
Wow.
A combination of sounds with a view to beauty of form and expression of emotion. If you get that reference, please tweet at Joe Wright. He'll be delighted. Music started in prehistoric times, just after the release of the very first Rolling Stones compilation.
Hey.
It was a proper joke.
God.
There was something Angus Deaton-y about that one.
What part of his life are you hoping to fill?
I want to live my life in such a way that Paul Merton just couldn't even be bothered to ridicule me. Too easy.
Well, that'd be a nice change from now.
When he just rips the shit out of me constantly.
No reason.
Let's test our audience's ability to remember the setup to this bit. Ugg the Caveman performed the very first ever music concert. He performed 3 ballads, 1 anthem, and an encore before being mauled to death by a tiger. Ma Ugg, writing for the Rolling Stone, described it as an urgent treatise on the loneliness of cave life and the dangers of tiger proximity. Did I say tiger? Yeah, probably. Tiger. Just dub it in. Burning Bright. We are going to talk about music as a phenomenon, what it means to us, how subjective it is as an art form, how contextual it is, how sexual it is, music snobbery, music shrubbery. We're going to challenge each other a little bit with some unusual song recommendations.
Also, we're going to really be pushing the envelope with your patience, listeners.
I know we're pushing it with mine. So Paul, you notorious FWB.
Hi.
What's one thing about music that made you wish you could keep up with it? Just even a little.
Even the tiniest bit. Oh, to be young again and not to feel completely fucking overwhelmed. Just about everything new in life. Yeah, it is difficult to keep up with it, isn't it? I used to be really good at it.
Mr. Charts.
Yeah. Call me Mr. Charts, I used to say, and they'd go, no, that doesn't. It's just wrong. It's inaccurate.
You're really good at Excel.
Anything. Back when I was a wee lad, a wee lassie.
Oh yeah.
I was your typical boy sitting cross-legged in front of my parents' stereo, taping things off the charts, which wasn't illegal back then. You can't get me on that. Minority Report.
Bloody Thatcher.
Reverse Minority Report.
When they only find out about crimes decades later. The worst Minority Report. These precogs are shit.
Post-cogs.
Fuck. But it's only the rubbishest of crimes, too. Hang on a minute, it looks like Paul Goodman didn't rewind that videotape before he returned it to Blockbusters. They're just loading shotguns.
Go. We're going to get this scum. But yeah, you know, I
music.
Taped all of the music off the radio. Yep. I was big on the charts. After a while, a lot of people, your interests sort of move away from the charts, and it got into things like Last FM and when I was a kid, Kerrang and MTV2, and finding all the cool new tracks that weren't playing on the radio. And I did that for a good 5 years or so, and then I stopped being a student. I had to get up, out of bed.
Oof. First mistake.
And then it all just sort of not immediately, but gradually to sort of this point in life where I do still occasionally come across new bands, but I tend to find that they've already released 5 albums.
Yes.
And it really doesn't help, and I don't want this to come between us, Paul, but it really doesn't help having to do a film podcast.
But music is strange for me. I really love the music that I love. It's transformative. It affects me like no other art form can. It transports me like no other art form can. It makes my heart soar. But it's tricky for me in a number of ways. Finding new music or articulating what it is I like about the music I like, it's probably the trickiest art form for me. And I love the shit out of some sculpting. And I can express that shit. Like, look at the curves.
Yeah.
Look at the buttocks.
Look at the gaps.
On this camel. Yeah, look at it all.
Look at the arse on that butterfly.
What you really need to notice is the marble he didn't use.
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, I find I'm quite scared when talking about it. And I always feel like I've embarrassed myself. I feel like two people are having like a in-depth conversation about the nuances of the latest Drake album. Then I'm just coming and be like, yeah, Rage Against the Machine, right?
Kanye's a genius. It's very much the sort of discursive equivalent of the dream where you're wearing pants in a lecture hall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's every time.
Yeah, and I think it is because music it's more of a visceral sense experience for me. With films, I can, especially after a year of doing this fucking thing, I've been able to explain more cogently why a film does or doesn't work. But with music, it just sort of it needles its way down into my soul a little bit. So actually then saying anything more than, oh, I liked it, or oh, I didn't like that, it's always been something I've really struggled with, especially with friends of mine who are musically quite literate. Having to engage in discussions about either why I didn't like a piece of music that other people do like, or trying to defend a piece of music that a lot of other people don't like. It was a really stressful experience, and it was really ungratifying experience.
Yeah, you mentioned there the problem with finding new music, and I think that is a big problem for me, and one of the reasons for that is that I have no easy, regular exposure to music in a sort of, without trying, if that makes sense. I don't listen to the radio.
Well, you're not allowed anymore, are you?
No, not since my illegal broadcasting network, Die Weitstals.
Yep.
It was an all-German radio by someone who didn't speak any German.
It's deeply offensive.
It was very offensively good. It was a flawed premise. I'll say it now. It was wrong-headed going in.
But want to do it all again? So
I already have. But yeah, I don't listen to the radio because my travel and cooking time is taken up by podcasts, YouTube, and reading. I don't like going to nightclubs or bars, so I'm not hearing stuff incidentally.
Well, you're not allowed, are you?
Not since my illegal German bar that I opened.
Want to do it all again? Not that one.
Not that one. That one, no. And I actually don't have that many very fanatic, present music lover friends. A lot of my friends like weird music.
Hello.
But in fact, most of my friends are now finally getting as old as I have always felt.
Ha!
So their music is sort of somewhat charmingly dated now.
Okay.
Like, hey, Paul, what did the fox say? No one fucking remembers. It was 5 years ago. Get in the culture bin with me.
Stab, 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 stab.
That's what happens in the culture bin.
It's something that I've struggled with for a while now because I prided myself on getting new music, and whether people actually listen to me or not, you know, but it was more for, you know, definitely more for myself. But the important thing to me now is just finding new music that is new to me. It doesn't really matter if the album is new out this year. If it's new to me, it's still it's the same visceral excitement.
A lot of it when you're a younger man or person thing is that you are driven by the fear of missing out. Yes. And the fear that everyone else is listening to this hot new thing, and you're going to get to school and, you know, you're going to be the only one not talking about it. And so that sort of peer pressure sort of keeps you up to date. But when that dissipates, as people slowly stop giving a shit about you and your thoughts...
And you lose friends.
Or at least it becomes more obvious that people don't care about you and your thoughts than it was when you were a teenager.
Yes.
It's just that dissipates, and you're left with just yourself as the instigator. And I think that's really when you can sort of relax and really find the shit that you like. I have a cycle. I use it to get to the record shop where I can buy stuff, but I also have a cycle in terms of my behavior. I get insecure about having no new music, or rather I miss having music to be excited about. I Google what the best albums of the last year have been in a particular field, usually reading lists by Enemy or Rolling Stone. I trust them, kind of.
Okay.
Or at least I know them, I'm familiar with them, therefore it feels somewhat official.
I know them, therefore I trust them. Not a good outlook. That's
how Compare the Meerkat works. So, yeah, I listen to the list. I find 5 or so I like. I listen to them over and over again for ages. Maybe I find a new band I become obsessed with and listen to all of their stuff. and I get sick of them and repeat. Only that loop has been steadily getting longer as I've been getting older. Used to be I would do that like every other month. Now it's twice or thrice a year.
Well, the issue with that is, for me, I guess it's something similar. Although the cycle would be find a new band, listen to one album 150 times, and then that will go into my long-term playlist that I will then go back to time and time again. You know, maybe in a month I'll go, I haven't listened to Veil of Maya recently, let's put that on. And then you do. But then every time you do that, you're adding one extra album to the infinite pile of long-term playlists that you've got just floating around your head. So then and then it's like going, what shall I read? And then opening a door into the Alexandra library and going, there's a lot, isn't there?
Yeah. There's probably albums out there that I fucking adore, absolutely love the arse off of, and haven't thought about in 2 years.
Yeah. It's what Dick Cheney would call an unknown unknown. Like, I don't even know I don't know about it anymore.
Music iconoclast. One place I do encounter music is in movies. I'm a film boy, which is why I see a lot of films, and so a lot of music gets in there, in the old brain and ass.
As much as you don't want it to. As hard as you try to block it out.
And I feel a bit silly walking around listening to film soundtracks, like away from the film. I do, but I love doing it. It's like probably the music I listen to the most.
You should feel silly. I hate that. No, you should. No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly normal. It's still music.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I especially love people like Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino, Michael Nyman, Trent Reznor, people who write really fucking good music. I know the Social Network soundtrack so fucking well, but I could not tell you what the scenes look like that the tracks go to, because I've only seen the movie twice, I think.
I mean, what is music after all, if not a soundtrack to somebody's life? Oh, twat.
But really, in the end, aren't we all music?
In the end, doesn't film win?
Aren't we all Michael Giacchino? In a very real sense.
Aren't we all inside Michael Nyman in a very literal sense? It's oh, hang on.
Wait a minute.
No, it's for listening to. Sometimes dancing.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, because there's a lot of crossover. The last great movie soundtrack I heard was to this movie called Arcadia, which is a really fucked up movie if anyone gets a chance to see it. It's a little obscure. But the soundtrack was by one member of Goldfrapp and one member of Portishead. And they got together and wrote this fucking killer soundtrack to this thing.
This is the Britain we have all inherited. A land of incomparable beauty.
It's really exciting, it's quite dramatic, it's excellent. And so, yeah, you get this cross between mainstream and, movie, because everyone knows how mainstream Portishead is. We've got the posters, the teenage girls, up on their walls.
Like the cheeky girls, but not. I know. Just the thing, mate.
I was just going to say that I find out about the bands that I love through music so often. I found out about Cody and Cambria because... Yeah, with film. Because I found out about I find this is awful.
I mean, that's true. It's a true statement.
I do find out about the music I love through music. I used to read about it and think, that's a good album. Oh, Jesus. I found out about Coheed and Cambria because of the trailer to that movie 9, the Sack People one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, cool.
Muse, because they're at the end of Switchblade Romance. That was the first time I heard Muse. Newborn is at the end of there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Fucking hated the way that was used in that film.
Spooky. Sufjan Stevens from Call Me By Your Name. I did have a brief obsession with The Used after the trailer was for Clash of the Titans featured a song of this. None of that makes me look good.
Was that Bird and the Worm?
Yep.
Bum, bum, ba-na-na-na-na-na.
That's a great fucking thing. It's how I find bands that I like, and even like the bands that come up in that cycle I mentioned, like Arcade Fire, Funeral came up in that list of albums of the century or some
yeah.
fucking thing. But I had brand
album.
recognition from the Her soundtrack. Funeral's a fucking great album. And The Suburbs ended up being... If we had decided to do this episode like we've done previous ones and doing a top 10 albums of all time, it would have been tricky, but I think The Suburbs probably would have gotten on there. But I found them because they were on one of these lists, and I recognised the name from Her. That is a soundtrack to Her. And the same with Moby and the Bourne movies. Play would probably also be one on my list. That's how I find these songs, and it then does go beyond movies, but movies is definitely the gateway for me a lot of the time.
That's really interesting, actually. As far as movie soundtracks go, they're pretty much my go-to for writing. When I write, I tend to listen to a few things. It's either film soundtracks, certain classical composers, mostly Shostakovich and Liszt, just very bombastic Soviet sort of
energy.
Motherfuckers, yeah. And
fuck you, writer's block.
It has to be music written by people that have been banned from somewhere, or
got to taste the oppression.
Either that or psytrance, kicking tunes, thumping bass. God, I sound so stupid. As far as my top 10 albums are concerned, it falls into much more of a high fidelity type autobiographical.
Right.
That's
list. Really interesting, because my very next thing I wanted to talk to you about is if music is more context specific than other art forms are. Because I read a thing that said that most people will find their favorite album or song when they're 17, because that's when they learn to drive. So they're on the road for the first time, free, life ahead of them, so whatever on the radio becomes your shit. I never learned to drive, but it is true that music does take me back, like a smell can. When I came to visit you in China, Daft Punk's Random Access Memories had just come out, and every evening after you started crying uncontrollably, I would listen to it on my iPod Classic. And it's this really chilled out album. It's very disco inflected. The electronic is kind of dialed back, very much like Discovery. And it's just such a fucking chill album, and it really takes me back to that really carefree period of just trying to blot out your desperate sobbing.
Yeah, my driving album was "Say Hello to Sunshine" by Finch, and I remember it being such a big thing for me because I really didn't like the album when it first came out. It was so different to their first album, but I did a lot of night driving at the time, and I just had these amazing memories of driving through country roads in Northampton, which is lovely because you're not in Northampton. No. You have just speeding around these country lanes at midnight with this really sort of brooding, maturing sound.
Dodging the cultists.
Dodging the cultists. Alan Moore is clinging to the boot of your car.
Nobody in. Just catching a ride home.
I'll write an immersive graphic novel about this.
Do you want to come inside of the car? No, it's fine out here. I'm John Lennon as well.
This is also my thing. And I have all these. Some of the albums on my top 10 are definitely ones that I listened to when I was 15, like Origin of Symmetry, for example.
Yeah.
Lateralis. Both just two albums that as a 15-year-old, I shouldn't have been allowed to hear because not sophisticated enough to hear that. But
I thought you were going to say because it's got all the naughty words in it.
Muse never used to swear, Paul. That's why they were so good. Not like now.
James Maynard Keenan at one point he says bum.
He does say bum, doesn't he?
Right in the middle of Schism.
Oh God.
We discover our bums.
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 Shit. The shittest English word that Maynard James Keenan could possibly say. Or bees.
Bees.
Push bees on me. Push bees on me.
We're not eternal. All these bees are an illusion.
But having said that, I really think that for me, content creates context.
Right.
It's a precursor. I have albums that I've listened to in the last year that I have really vivid memories of time and place. I guess the last one would be an album by Gavin Dance called Acceptance Speech, I think it was. It was something that I listened to a couple of, maybe last summer and properly got into. Every time I listen to that band now, I get the sort of early summer weather in England. Really bright days, walking with the sun on my back. Really vivid memory. It doesn't really matter when I've listened to it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then from context to our actual tastes, because we've kind of darted around this a bit. I do feel as though I should be able to, and I know this is wrong, I should be able to just sum up my musical taste with just a couple of words to categorize myself.
Why would you do that?
Well, I feel like I should be able to do that about my political views as well. I feel like there's a sturdiness to it. There's proof that you're correct. If you can just be like, oh yes, liberal socialist, that's it. Feel free to Google my most sincerely held convictions. How do I feel about nuclear power again?
Yeah. Oh, can I just see that Google page, please? Okay, cool.
That's it. Someone asked me about that the other day, and I was like, ooh.
You can't just put yourself into these rigid...
You can't do it with either.
No. Neither are good.
No.
If somebody says, post-hardcore, okay. If you... What about the Smiths?
Let me check the graph. The graph of what that means. There's some bands like in it, and it's a big Venn diagram. Oh, okay, yeah. You like that.
You need a stern-looking guy in a big trench coat and sunglasses just who's like shake or nod his head whenever you say a band to him. Oh, Divine Comedy. Am I allowed to? No, sorry. Have you seen my hairstyle?
Get out. It's easy to some extent. I can say unabashedly my favourite kind of music is classical music, and I also really like rock.
Yeah.
But I also really like folk.
Yep.
Electronic. And it changes, because I went and saw the movie Studio 54 a few weeks ago, and it had all this classic disco music in it, and the sound system in the cinema was fucking great. Yeah. And the song "You Make Me Feel Mighty Real" by Sylvester.
Oh, mate, that's such a good song.
You make me feel
mighty real.
Yeah, with that sound system, I just thought, fuck, this song. And it just makes me think, maybe every song that's been popular that I haven't liked, I just haven't listened to it on the right sound system.
This is the thing, there is good in every genre, literally every genre, even Gabba. I made a disco playlist about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I don't know much about disco, but I found just off the top of my head I could recall about 10 tracks that I really fucking like, that are really good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've come across a genre where I don't like anything, even gangster rap, even country music. There's always good and bad. And what you said about your favorite music being classical, but you also like rock and country and now disco. That's not a label. That's you saying, well, I support nuclear power. However, I'd like a push towards solar. I also, believe in a welfare state, but I also think we should have a bit of a free market. It's a similar sort of thing, and it constricts you to pigeonhole yourself. Let other people do that maybe, but
yeah, issue by issue, album by album.
Exactly,
is the way to kind of go.
Exactly. Especially with Muse, am I right?
Yeah. Fucking hell. I hate those bands where you have to qualify.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I really like that band, but specifically albums 3 through 5. Yeah. But then again, it's like Fast and Furious, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's particularly Fast and Furious because if you admit to liking the whole franchise, you're admitting to some awfully dodgy shit.
Yep.
And I think there's some bands that are similar.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's always a difficult realization. It definitely was when I was a teenager that, not every band is going to release good albums from beginning to end.
Yeah. What's the biggest disappointment for you? What was the big one?
Muse.
Muse,
Favorite band for the longest time, and Black Holes and Revelations was the beginning of the decline for me. Some very good tracks on the album, but I remember listening to Take a Bow, the opening track to that album, and I just realised that the lyrics were shit, just terrible. And then once I'd realised that, I couldn't not realise it for every consecutive Muse album, and they had moments of resurgence. I really enjoy the pomposity. The pomposity of Muse has never been a problem for me. Otherwise, Origin of Symmetry wouldn't be one of my favourite albums. But somewhere between Absolution and Black Holes and Revelations, lyrically, he just went to mush.
Maybe got lazy. Yeah.
Maybe there was no sophistication to anything that he wrote anymore. Gone are the days of space dementia. There was some exceptions on the Resistance. I think half of that was a very, very good album. And I thought, maybe they're getting back. And then I remember listening to The Second Law and then Drones and really just thinking he'd lost his way. That was the biggest disappointment. It just happens. Some bands go anthemic. Some lose their way, some split up or get new members and just go in different directions. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, and I try not to take it too personally. It's just disappointing when it's played such a big part of your life. In
terms of big disappointments for me, the main thing that gets to me is when I feel like the band has just become grumpy, or the lyrics have just become grumpy. And I had this with Arcade Fire, actually. I listened to their latest Everything Now. Yeah. And whereas The Suburbs was sort of railing against the confines of modern life and the ways in which it tries to sort of trap you in sort of regular in expectations, and how the youth are really disaffected by things. There was something about everything now that was just a bit iPhones, right? Have you noticed that everyone's just looking at their little devices, and it's just like go get your shotgun and go on the Porsche and just start firing it into the air. And I had this with actually Smashing Pumpkins, the most recent album I really liked. What was it fucking called? Monuments to an Elegy. I really liked, but
right.
Then the guy himself in interviews comes over as a really grumpy old fuck who's just like Billy Corgan. This comes over as actually I think this album's really good, and I think the critics just have it out for me because it's like too revolutionary for them, and it's like, it's a fine album, Billy. Just it's fine.
You need your little poxy songs. It's the same as Finn Jones going, Trump is the reason that people didn't like Iron Fist. It's like, well, no. I'm just gonna be a friend here and say no.
Come on now, Finn. Get in the box.
That where you belong. This is an issue actually. It's partly when you listen to interviews or read interviews with musicians, or you watch music videos and you watch them and go, "Oh, you're a git."
Yeah, which does happen. I mean, there's something about the arrogance needed to really express yourself and get on top of the box and say, "Hey, everyone, I have this to say." That it's going to lend itself to being a certain kind of character. Is Paul saying that everyone in the music industry is a prick? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, with that, I have a pretty strict policy of never meeting your idols.
Your Billy Idols.
Billy Idols. Sorry, I keep meaning to say Billy Idols.
It's Cockney rhyming slang for idols. It's really lazy.
It doesn't even work. But like you said, it's the same with comedians and people in similar professions. You've got to be a certain kind of person to do that. Which is not to say that every musician is pompous or arrogant, but
most of them.
You need most of them. You need conviction, I think, is the main thing, because I know there's an artist called Keaton Henson who has such crippling anxiety that when he first started playing, he would only play to one person at a time, and he made it into an exhibition. I know.
Great.
It's heartbreaking, and really, if you get a chance, you and everyone at home should listen to "Dear" by Keaton Henson.
Is it really aggressive gangster rap?
Does he know who you are?
Fuck you, motherfucker!
I really like doing gangster rap, but I'm going to get really embarrassed if my mum shows up, so I have to do it one person at a time to make sure that she doesn't come up, because I can't look at her over my spaghetti hoops.
Knowing
if I have to sing Compton Mother Cunting Pimp one more time, she just won't stand for it.
This next one. Compton Mother Cunting Pip. Pip? Why not?
Compton, sir. Compton. Like the raps. Like in the rap games.
Oh, I've heard of that Compton. It sounds horrible.
Sounds
All
lovely.
sorts goes on.
But it's all about conviction, and
yes.
Sometimes you're going to disagree with the conviction that modern life is rubbish, and which is not to say that the album Modern Life is rubbish. It's great, but it doesn't always happen.
But let me come back to the idea of me desperately trying to categorize myself in order to escape criticism, because it didn't work, and it was very poor. But I really,
if anything, it's going to draw criticism.
It really did. It was the worst idea.
Yeah.
Like a flat jacket painted with a bullseye on it. And also it's made of cheese. I thought if I could just say, I'm the heavy metal guy, that could just be it. And for a while I did try at that, but I really wasn't a metalhead. I was trying to find nice, mellow, melodic rock via heavy metal. Because you get no respect saying, oh yeah, I actually prefer the Black Album to Kill 'Em All. All the guys with, who's actually got his face pierced with another guy, just like through his nose, will just be like, get him! I gravitated towards progressive and alternative metal, like Tool, System of a Down, Trivium, Alter Bridge, and stuff like Avenged Sevenfold and Disturbed. I was actually quite into new metal, with an NU, with a atomic symbol.
New metal.
New metal. Which is hilarious, because the period in which I became a fan of it is described by Wikipedia as the decline. 2000
of what of world of new metal or metal
of new metal is described as the decline.
Oh, okay,
period
like
where I was listening to it.
Spineshank's third album.
And the period we're in now, which is 2010 to present, is apparently minor revival.
Yeah, I've heard your revival. If you call yourself a metalhead, then you have to do the metalhead things.
You have to go all in.
If you call yourself if you're the metal guy, then you can't just be regular old Paul Salt who occasionally listens to Michael Nyman. You have to do the summer tour of 8 different European festivals.
Ultimately, I like a lot of things, and I have to take it song by song. But a lot of my feelings of insecurity stem from my inability to describe why I like some music and not others. And we talked about the lack of vocabulary. I like melody, I think. I like a tune. And for me, that's more important than a beat, although I do like a beat sometimes. And obviously I like a beat to a melody, but if the song is just beat, I'm less likely to like it than if it had a good tune. I think that's important.
Okay.
And I like a falsetto singing voice. I like a high singing voice. I'm already out of my depth, but those things... I think those things... Feeling nervous, but I think those two truths...
He's shaking, listeners.
I can come away with. There's probably way more exceptions than there are anything that confirms any of that.
You can say for sure that that's what you like, but by saying that, you're not saying that you don't like the alternative.
Yeah.
You're just, you're saying I have a type, but
yeah,
I'll take anything. I don't know if I'd go as far as singling out anything that I liked.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I guess I am. There are definitely things I'm partial to and a bit of a sucker for.
Partial is a good word to use there. It's not going to be a rule for me. I haven't got a checklist.
I'm partial to falsetto. I'm partial to a good metal scream that sounds like somebody's about to puke. And
who's your best screamer?
Jamie Lenman from Reuben, definitely.
Yes.
I'll fair use. I'll pop 2 seconds of his trademark scream here.
I'm afraid it's going to have to be 1 second.
But
love it.
And I'm also a real sucker for double bass drums, double bass pedals. Just having that digga. It's very good. but yeah, like I said, good in every genre. So it's more about finding stuff that I maybe didn't realize that I liked.
Yeah.
Although at this stage, you do really have to dig down into the subgenres to find those.
Yeah.
And that is the problem with labeling is is having to then think about subgenres. And when you say, "Oh, I really like this band," "Oh yeah, what are they like?" Well, they're kind of like post math rock combined with the dying embers of the hardcore movement.
And you just
means nothing
cradle
to me.
yourself. Yeah, the categorization is only so helpful. But you've segued quite neatly into this stupid challenge that you've devised. So
Yay.
Let's start. Well, let's explain. Why have you done this?
Well,
what have you done, first of all? Because we haven't said.
What I have done is suggested to my esteemed colleague Paul Paulus Sultanus that 3 songs.
Yes.
We recommend to each other with the hope of, my hope of testing the limits of Paul's musical tastes. Yeah.
The same as what I was intending to do, but in a slightly different way, which we will come to.
Yeah. Yes. I personally recommended 3 things that I didn't think Paul had ever heard of. 3 genres that I presumed that you're not that well versed in.
Success there too, I think.
Yeah, and also I recommended 3 songs that were over 6 minutes long.
Yes.
Each.
Fucker.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. All right, let's do your 3 first. So
the first one that I thought of, this was an easy one, was Atlas by Battles. Best track easily. It worked. This sound works to varying degrees with this album, and then with their second album, Gloss Drop, they went in a slightly glammier, polished direction. But it's quite experimental. It's quite progressive.
Certainly,
a lot of vocoders are being used. I think that's the right word. But it's very atmospheric, and I really wanted to. When I was thinking of songs that I could recommend to you to sort of see, to see how you'd deal with them, this was really the first one that came to mind. Just because it's not really like much else that I've heard.
Sure, absolutely.
In my limited experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really liked it. It was really fun. The first thing I wrote down when those drums started and the sort of guitar kind of comes in is, it sounds like Manson. And that's another one of those bands where it's like, oh yeah, he exists. I don't know describing him as a band, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
He's more than a person.
He's a brand.
Yeah.
He's a Russell brand.
Force.
He is. I've got his pencil case.
He's a rustling in the bushes.
He's a Willem Dafoe style treat.
Yeah.
So I thought about that first. Then the lyrics kick in. That sort of very surreal lyric, and I thought it reminded me of Parade by Susumu Hirasawa from Paprika.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which was something I heard quite recently, and there's another song I was like, God, I was listening to that every day for a week or so as well. But I go back to these things. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked its quirkiness. I really liked that beat, the sort of energy of it.
The song's got a really great progression to it.
Yeah.
It like layers. And it's got this really cool atmosphere, especially when you actually know what the lyrics are, when you actually just read them.
I will probably do that at some stage.
It makes me think of forests at night and running through in a very dreamlike way, being pursued by something.
It's Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. Oh God.
Get out of there.
It's the Willem Dafoe soundtrack. Track 1, side 1.
Just that song with just a tight close up on his face, smiling throughout the whole thing.
Really glad you liked it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, next one.
Okay, the next one was something from the psytrance genre. Psytrance being short for psychedelic trance.
Is it related? Is that what his side duck evolves into?
Yes, it does. He's horrendous. He's just on the pills.
Sorry.
That's upsetting. That's upsetting than alcohol. Thank you. Psytrance is a genre that I got into around the age of 18, which is it's to be separated from more circusy poppy trance, DJ Sammy type stuff. You know, it's less
we
about.
We all remember DJ Sammy.
It's less about. We all remember DJ Sammy. We all remember the soaring.
Lest we
melodies.
forget.
Here's a bit of DJ Sammy now. Not really. I'm not putting DJ Sammy in this fucking podcast.
Put it back in.
Don't worry, guys. Don't turn off. It has occasional melodies, but it's more about the textures, the bass lines, and the kick drum and kicking tunes, thumping bass, and
pounding house.
More about it's handy pandy. There's more emphasis on the kick and the bass. The tracks are way longer. There's more time to get into the meat of it, the trance of it. That 4/4 beat is very good for just moving into the background of your concentration.
Right. I did note it would be good for exercising.
Yes, I imagine it would. Exercising, writing. The track is Bone Storm by Frozen Ghost. A lot of the sampling comes from the Bone Storm episode of The Simpsons, but with a couple of other things thrown in for good measure.
One of my favourite Simpsons clips of all time is in there, and it's from the episode where he becomes Fallout Boy, and it's just Homer saying, "Careful now."
Yes.
As they're smashing through his wall.
Yes. Careful now. There's
I love that.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. Now, with recommending Psytrance to you, I was curious.
Right.
We've had conversations in the past where it's been implied that maybe it wouldn't be your kind of thing. And Psytrance also has these subgenres, so you have more plodding prog trance, and you have really frenetic forest psy, which is more about textures and effects over this really fast, consistent bass line. It's got very very high BPM. It's really infuriating if you're not into it. and you get more tuneful, full-on psytrance, and then this is somewhere in the middle. It's hectic, I think, but it's got a melody. The bass line carries the tune,
Yes,
and
it
it's
does,
also quite funny. So I thought this would be really accessible.
It's the company's fault for making you want it so much. Don't do it, son. Don't send me into the help buddy. Just take it. Take it.
Yeah, it was funny, and I did like the melody. I like the sort of electronic sound, the sort of very bassy sound that accompanies the whole thing. I thought that was really cool. It had a really good energy. I did feel it went on a bit. And actually, I didn't say that about the previous one too, Atlas, which is that the gap between... There's a long gap between the first sort of block of the high-pitched vocals and the second block. And that period goes on for a bit long for me. But, of course, if you're doing something like thrashing your brains out in a clubular thing, or writing a novel, for example, you might...
In a clubathon.
You might appreciate... In a clubathon. In a Neil clubathon, you might appreciate it more.
That is definitely true. The other thing is when you're listening to an album, or a lot of the time when you're listening to psytrance, you might be listening to a mix, and you could be listening to an hour set where there's no beginning or end. Really, it's just a continuation of the 4/4 beat.
Yeah. The first time I listened to them, I was just sat listening to them. I did that, and I never do that with music. Incidentally, I never just sit. Yeah. I don't sit into the armchair and crank the Wagner. I usually listen whilst I'm doing things or walking around, and this is good walking music. It's good music when you're walking around and sort of, speed walking, doing the pace. But, actually sitting in your armchair listening to it, it's, your heart gets going and you just sat there, which, it's like looking at any picture of Tom Hiddleston.
There's only so much you can take before you get fucking bored.
Well, it sat well. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Lovely.
Cool.
I'll make you a tape.
Great. A cassette, please. Right, third up.
The third one. Let's just get straight in with the title. It's Pillow Talking by Lil Dicky.
Damn. L tap twice on some ass like grams. I just fuck.
This track is a sketch, basically. It's a skit of these two people who have just finished fucking, and
Although his pronunciation of fucked, he didn't pronounce anything after the U.
Yeah, we just fuck. Yeah, it's great.
But you heard the whole word. It's really bizarre. I can't do it.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy. There's a lot of it's just about these two.
Yeah.
Their really awkward conversation once they realise they don't actually have that much in common, and they annoy the fuck out of each other, and they keep trying to bring it back to this baseline of amiability, but they disagree on everything, like the like God and aliens and vegetarianism and
the big things.
Yeah, the real big things. A lot of his stuff, it's very self-deprecating.
Yes,
comedic stuff, but it is very smart. It is funny, and he's got a crazy flow. It's very, very good.
Yes, it really is. He's got a tremendous amount of skill and a great sort of knack for tons of phrases that are really funny.
Yeah. Bringing up fucking dinosaurs, like we could have shared the earth with them. Nobody knows. There's hard soil evidence, girl. Like what's next? You don't fuck with Pangea?
I never appreciated the flexibility of do you fuck with as a thing. Why doesn't God fuck with aliens? Do you fuck with the war? Like, meaning, do you interact with it, or do you? It's a very nice way of putting it. It's like, are you into? I guess.
She like, I have a brother. I'm like, oh, what he do? She like, he in the army. Oh, true. Do you fuck with the war?
There are some fucking brilliant lines in this. What you just reminded me of what's next. You don't fuck with Pangea.
The contrasting of sort of slang and very technical fucking terms. I mean, right off the bat, you've got sort of, do you agree with that assessment or something like that? It's it's really good.
I think it's a really nice mix. It's this this ironic, like, casual throwing around of bitch and hoe and things like that with this vulnerable, petty guy. It's a really funny mix.
there's something very disarming about his voice, though. It
But
makes
then
a line like, "Oh, do you believe in God, bitch?"
She like, that's no coincidence. I call that shit God. Hold on. I'm like, oh, you're religious, bitch.
You know, which sounds like it should be very aggressive, but it's just sort of say like, "Oh, bitch, dude." It's really nice. Like you'd say it over tea. What a lovely boy. Oh, fuck. One of my favourite lines in there is just something like, she's trying to get an Uber and she says something like, download quick, they have a stronger presence out here.
Yeah. I'd really recommend listening to the rest of his album. It's a very similar thing. And initially I was like, oh, he's throwing bitch around an awful lot, but I think it's with the same sort of self-awareness that he's bringing to it.
It reminded me of like the Concours. It was really well written. I really liked the lyrical style, the skill behind it. It was, and like you say, I loved how self-deprecating it was, and it was just really, really fucking funny. So that was probably my favourite of the three.
Oh, cool. I'm really glad to hear that. She listened to Professional Rapper. It's a track that he does with Snoop Dogg.
Well, that's the name of the album, wasn't it? That appeared on.
Yeah, it is.
I love the album cover that popped up on my Spotify where it's like his CV for being a rapper written out in pen.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Alright, hold up. Just because we not running around with a bow and arrow doesn't mean we not hunting these chickens. We just at the place to do our hunting intelligently enough to manipulate these animals and get them to do exactly what we want. That's my point. We just incubate animals instead of letting them live how they come. Yeah, but that's your god at work, bitch. Like, we go hard on Earth.
Alright then. I guess it's my turn.
Yeah. Explain yourself.
Okay, I can't do this. Can't.
It's tough, isn't it?
If this is about us sharing songs that we've encountered whilst exploring the fringes of music, the treasures that we have unearthed, I really didn't think when you first suggested this I'd have anything for you. I have since reevaluated that, but we'll come to that. I just thought, my comfort zone, you like more music than I do. So if you imagine the little city that is me, the music I like, it's within the country that is just your musical tastes. It's, it's, I'm not going to have anything, that you've not heard. So I was going to have to leave
fiefdom, though, that I've never visited. None of my tax inspectors have ever been there.
I have a neighbouring country that's fucking bizarre. Initially, I thought, I'm going to have to go mainstream, because that's the main place where I know I won't bump into you. So, firstly, you had once revealed to me in a drunken stupor in China that you had trouble enjoying music from pre-1980 or so. It might have been 1970, I forget, because of the production value with
a few exceptions.
Okay, so advantage me, because after being given a CD of the 100 greatest guitar solos as a teen, I got super into classic rock.
Nice,
all sorts, and none more so than Led Zeppelin, who not briefly, actually, for a good long time, I'd have described as my favourite band of all time. They'd still be up there.
Oh, cool.
So what to recommend from one of the most impressive libraries of hits ever assembled? I thought about avoiding Stairway to Heaven, because, it's the song everyone learns when they're learning to play guitar, so maybe one of their epic 10-minute odysseys, but then I suddenly felt, for some reason, I can't say why, that you would have trouble taking seriously some of the more fantastical ones. Like, I can't remember which song it is. It might be Kashmir, but there's just the line, "Ooh, in Jotunheim." I just thought that in the Battle of Evermore, there's the Ringwraiths Ride in Black, Ride On. And it's like, I don't know, I just thought you might find it silly.
I do listen to Viking metal, so...
Okay. Well, that might have been a safer bet.
I think I'd be okay with it. And now you mention a 10-minute epic, I'm definitely more enthused. So...
Fuck. Okay, so I fucked this up.
Like everything else, yes.
I decided, wrongly it turns out, to go for one of their human ones. But which one? You've got Whole Lotta Love, which is the top of the Pops theme, which is great.
Which I know, yeah.
Yep, and it's surprisingly filthy, I think. Not many people realise it eventually turns into him just faking an orgasm, and saying lyrics such as, "I'm gonna give you every inch of my love, and I want to be your backdoor man." So... thought that might appeal
I want to
to
be
you,
a big
filthy
bum man. Yeah.
Let me in there.
I'm knocking.
I thought you might be prejudiced against Black Dog because it's Georgie Dawes' entry music on Shooting Stars. I didn't want that association. You know,
would I not have loved it? Would I?
But ultimately, I decided I might have been overcomplicating things. So, Good Times, Bad Times. The first track from the first album of the first Led Zeppelin. That opening chord was the first thing that most people heard of Led Zeppelin, and it changed rock forever. What did you make out of it, you prick?
Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed it. I don't know why I don't listen to these bands, really. It's not that I dislike it. It's when I grew up, it wasn't anything that my parents listened to. It was Beatles, Sex Pistols, then Meatloaf, and Jimmy Somerville. So it never really featured, and it was just never something in my arsenal.
We should just briefly mention, because we talked about our musical taste. I think parents' tastes do play into it a little bit, because you do grow up hearing that music. And one of my earliest memories I have is of walking into my living room and my parents were playing on their great big sound system, Money by Pink Floyd. They were huge Pink Floyd fans.
Nice, yeah.
So I did have quite a lot of those classic straight rock people like Fleetwood Mac and Deep Purple and such, and King Crimson playing. So I think that informs some things.
Did you grow up with 21st Century Schizoid Man?
I don't know what that is.
Really?
What's that? Have I fucked up?
Isn't that King Crimson?
Maybe. I must admit that although you know what, if I played it, I'd be all over it. like a bad rash. Oh man.
Like a rashy rash. I'll link you to it later. It's the only King Crimson song I know, and it's fucking great. The other Led Zeppelin song I know is Immigrant Song.
Oh yeah, which it's a song I also considered and I really love.
Do I prefer the Carano version? Maybe.
Have you heard the Tool version? Oh no, that was No Quarter. Carano, that's what you said. I thought you said Carano, and I was like, where did Gina Carano do it?
I much prefer the Falco version.
I also almost recommended When the Levee Breaks, which has a fucking great... You'd know it.
Which I've heard of.
Anyway,
sorry, but yeah, Good Times, Bad Times. This is the first thing I wrote down was that I was sitting on a cushion, cross-legged, with my headphones on, and I thought of all those really cliche cinematic moments where a kid in the 70s in bell-bottoms is sitting on a pastel cushion listening to the first rock song that blows his mind. And I really enjoyed the fact that it kept the same rhythm from verse to chorus. It had a really nice song progression, and it was really satisfying when the verse finished and it goes into the chorus.
No matter how I try, I find my way to the same old jam. Good times, bad times, you know I had my share. When my woman left home for a blind man, I still don't seem to care.
Because it's the same, it doesn't change. It's not like you get to the end of the verse and it goes dun 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 dun, dun and now we sing the chorus. It was very much it
just slips in.
Very very seamless. I really like that. I really like there's a sneaky little kick drum in there going digga 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 through the verse. Just a really nice thing that they didn't draw too much attention to. It was a really good, really catchy song.
It was, and that's really what it needed to be as the sort of first song on their first album. They needed something that was just going to kick people right up there. I think it did.
My one issue with it is that it fades out at the end, and I really dislike it when songs fade out.
That's fair, and I don't like it either. I like a song to have an ending. It does bug me.
Maybe, especially because it fades out as he's singing a new verse. It wasn't even it wasn't even a repeat. It was I've got some new stuff for you.
Maybe the producer just got bored.
Yeah, great lads, great. Next one.
It's the 60s.
It still happens now. There are bands that I really like that will occasionally fade a track out. And you think, why? Why would you do that?
You're turning it up to compensate.
No.
Yeah. Keep hold of the song.
Maybe if you turn it up to 11, it keeps going. This one's for the secret fans. You did ever so well to get to the best bit of the song. You know the code. Yeah, you win.
If your one sort of complaint about Good Times, Bad Times is that it's sort of that you didn't get to hear the very end of it, and I think that's a good thing.
I would say so.
Yay! Okay, moving on then. So, secondly, you would confess that you didn't enjoy easy listening. Now, I must confess that I don't know quite what that means. Wikipedia tells me that easy listening is an antiquated term that has since been replaced by the term adult contemporary, which is much broader and means a lot of other things too.
Oh, thanks, Wikipedia.
But I had started listening to this playlist earlier, several weeks earlier, called Easy 90s. It was just in my Spotify thing, so I thought, give it a go. I was amazed at how pure that nostalgia hit actually was. Of just, fuck, I never knew what the song was even called, but now I'm hearing it. I'm just a puddle on the fucking floor.
I'm a jizz cloud.
That's my soul jizzed. And I thought, okay, well, it's called Easy 90s, so surely I could find something that counts as easy listening that I could also just devastate my entire soul with, and yours. The easy standout for me was Torn by Natalie Imbruglia.
Yes.
Very obviously a fucking great song.
Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked on the floor.
Just seemed really well written.
Which I agreed.
Lovely melody.
Oh.
Yeah, you went ahead and agreed, you bloody spanner.
Yeah.
You already knew of it, you already loved it, so fuck it. And it's also, I read, the most played song in Australia since records began. So I imagine that you'd just be able to open a window and just listen carefully.
Oh, it's playing right now. There's a tramp singing it outside.
They count tramps in this count.
They've all got QR codes.
Welcome back to Australia's favourite tramp.
Nothing's right, I'm torn.
God, he's good. So failure there. I went back to the playlist and found the next one, which really sort of hit me, which was Save Tonight by Eagle Eye Cherry. You bloody well like that too.
Yeah, big fan of that. Nostalgia, isn't it?
Yeah.
The issue is, I wouldn't, by easy listening, I wouldn't
classify
class
these
90s pop
soft rock
as easy listening.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
We grew up in the 90s. Just so happens that I love a lot of the pop songs. I even like Mambo Number 5.
Yeah. Oh, God. So, like the rest of the world, I decided to abandon the 90s because they were too perfect. And I moved on to the third thing I knew about you, that you don't keep up with the pops. You don't listen to the top of the pops. So surely I could find some overly produced, artificial, but surprisingly beautiful song in the charts. I love the music from Gem and the Holograms. Find something like that. Mm-hmm. You know, it sounds like that. So I asked a friend what the current incarnation of S Club 7 is, and they told me they thought it might be Little Mix, who haven't released an album in 2 years. Get in the bin. In the bin.
Cretin, your friend.
So I had to resort.
I hope they're listening now. Get out.
So I had to resort to the charts, and I decided I was going to listen to all 10 songs in the singles chart and find some new classic I could love and get you to love too. Easy. I can get on well. It has all grown on me as the thing, but nothing initially made that personal connection. Most of them are about hitting the club with your posse, driving the Jag or Ferrari, hop on the stew, jump on the coup, flexing on bitches as hard as I can, eating halal, driving the lamb. How many fucking cars do you need, Cardi B? Did you use the Jag to drive to the coupe? You know about fucking global warming.
That's my halal car.
It was all very materialistic, very auto-tuned, much bass, wow. Doge was 5 years ago. Bin. Well, fuck me. So anyway, Shotgun by George Ezra was number 1 when I was listening. And it's fun, but it has a bass line that sounds like, you know when you fart whilst you're walking?
I'll be riding shotgun underneath the horse.
Why did you write a poopy fart song, George Ezra?
Is it followed by the sound of a well-spoken middle-class Englishman going, whoops?
Whoops, daisy. You had a really nice song about being on an island, and then you put your smelly butt sounds in it. What did you do that for?
Your Parpy Bum tunes.
It's another Parpy Bum tune by George Ezra. But yeah, like Solo, a song that seems to be about masturbating, which is fun.
But I got nobody, so I do it so long.
But it has this weird hooting thing by Demi Lovato. Like, at one point she just does this weird sort of, woo, woo, woo. And when she did it, I kept imagining her face, like, extending like Pingu. That was Demi Lovato there. With her new fucking single, Mwap Mwap.
Ooh, came in at a tight number 2 after George Ezra's latest Parpy Bum sound. A Parpy Christmas.
Pops for Christmas. I'll be sending my pop. I quite liked 2002 and I'll Be There. It bums me out a little that this chick is like singing like, I will always remember it's 2002. It's like, fuck off. That was not long enough ago for you to be all hazy about.
Well, I mean, that was 16 years ago. When was Summer of 69 written?
Exactly, never. I nearly recommended Leave a Light On because it really made me laugh how much Tom Walker fucking belts out that chorus lyric. He's just like, I know.
And I will leave a light on. If you've lost your way, and I will leave the light on.
Thanks.
For you.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Daughter, in case you come back late.
Don't mention it.
I'm a good dad.
Oh god, fuck it, we're nearly there.
Okay.
Anyway, Ape Shit by Beyonce and Jay-Z was in there, which I nearly recommended, but it wasn't quite what I was going for. I wanted pop, and that was very much whatever that sound is. I do like the fact that throughout the song, Beyonce occasionally goes, rawr.
I hope it's as lackadaisical as that.
It really is. She just goes, rawr. It's like, oh, that's a bit scary, Beyonce.
Not even trying anymore, are you, Beyonce?
Yeah.
I'm Beyonce now.
Don't even try to scare us. Nearly went with Reputation by Valentine's Day star Taylor Swift, but ultimately I did prefer the chorus to No Tears Left to Cry by Ariana Grande.
Right now I'm in a state of mind. I wanna be in like all the time. Ain't got no tears left to cry.
So, thoughts?
Well, a quick word on modern pop. I do like a lot of modern pop. I've been known to enjoy Taylor Swift.
Yep.
I think the probably the peak of pop, the peak of recent pop, was Gautier's someone that I used to know. Okay. Somebody that I used to know. But pop is good in my books.
Okay.
For consistently getting good tunes. Lyrically, not always so much.
Not very challenging.
Good tunes go a long way. Yeah. And this is a very, very good example of that.
Yeah.
It's got these vibes of 90s Dane Bauer, Victoria Beckham joints. It's a really, like, at first I thought it was, this nice, light, airy track. I was a little bit bothered that maybe it wasn't going to be as catchy as I thought.
Yeah.
But when the chorus came in, it's not that it's not catchy. It's incredibly memorable.
Yes.
I just want you to come with me. We are another mentality. Ain't got no tears left to cry. So I'm picking it up. I'm picking it up.
Her voice is amazing.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Her voice is incredible. I really enjoyed the sparse backing music. It reminded me a lot, for no real reason, of Elbows Build a Rocket Boys. It let the voice be the main instrument, and it really drove the melody and drove the song.
Yeah.
She's got a really good, strong voice for it. I loved how uplifting the track is and how dramatic the chorus is, just from her voice alone.
Yeah.
Because all the rest of the music is just a bass line and drums and the occasional sort of fart of a...
of a George Ezra.
Like a synth pad, yeah. Which I did enjoy, but it's just a balls-out, sincere pop song.
It is.
I did find that lyrically there wasn't much going on.
No, not really.
After listening to all of these tracks, I then read the lyrics and varying levels of goodness.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a song for the lyrics, but the voice is enough, man. It's a really, really good track.
That was the standout for me, is her voice, especially during the chorus, where it has this really sort of powerful kind of anthemic feel to the whole thing. It also has a really interesting... I know this is, fatuous. Fatuous? Is that the word? Fatuous? I know it's...
Fatuous.
Fatuous, that's the one. Fucking hell.
Factuous.
I know it's quite factuous, but the music video was really interesting. They actually built a Christopher Nolan style rotating hallway for her to sort of dance around. She credits Fred Astaire, but it's Nolan, damn it. You can tell.
It's Nolan through and through.
Fred Astaire was inspired by Christopher Nolan. The idea of what he would be.
Yep. He went through a wormhole, pushed some books out into Fred Astaire's lounge.
And also, whilst we're on things that are outside of the song, I think I quite like Grande as a person because she's reacted really coolly to the whole Manchester travesty that happened.
Oh, yeah.
In addition to sort of hosting...
What was her reaction?
Oh, well, in addition to sort of having this big reunion concert where she got a number of huge people, the only one of which I can remember is Justin Bieber, annoyingly. But she got a lot of her pop friends to come back and do a concert for, the survivors and such. And then she got the Manchester working bee tattooed onto her.
Oh.
Which is quite a show of solidarity. So,
yeah.
And I think Manchester named her as like a, one of those honorary citizens or something. They gave her one of those big keys that gets you into the goat hut.
It's key to the local Greggs.
You can have all the sausage rolls you like, Ariana.
Yeah. Opens at 6, but you can get there from 5.
Beth will let you in.
Get them when they're still hot.
You got a 5-minute window. Run, Ariana.
I'm running. No, she's got a fantastic voice.
Yes.
She's got a really, really great voice. And
she has.
Actually, looking forward to listening to a bit more of Ariana Grande.
Well, good stuff. Yeah, glad to hear it.
Loving, I'm living, so we turn it up. Yeah, we turning it up.
So I have one slot left.
Yes.
So I thought I'd be unusual, and I'd do what you just asked me to do in the first place. And suggest a song I really like, but which I'm not sure you would. Which felt horrible. Made me feel really vulnerable. Not hiding behind some dodgy conceit. There was something about, all of musicdom. Recommend 3 things. And it was like,
sums you up as a person.
You had all of music and you picked these 3. What's wrong with you?
Fucking clown.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I picked Your Belgian Things by the Mountain Goats.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Naturally.
The men were here to get your Belgian things. They'll store them for you in an airplane hangar. There's guys in biohazard suits.
What do you think?
Where that friend of mine would call certain films Paul films.
Okay.
This is absolutely something that Nell would call Paul music, by which she basically means folk music.
Okay.
And otherwise, means something very good. This is exactly the kind of music that I'm into.
Lovely. Good stuff.
One of
the very ones.
The 2 things that stood out musically, whether it's simple or not, I'm not sure, but quite simple, quite sparse, and a lyrical ease that I found really enamoring.
Yeah,
it really stuck with me because it took me back to a certain time of my life. I think it was the winter of 2007. Back in London, I was spending a lot of time walking around Greenwich Park, reading Kafka, and listening to a lot of Patrick Watson. And when I listened to this track yesterday morning, I was sitting on my cushion with a heater because it's cold. It's cold in Melbourne. Apparently, surprisingly, it actually gets cold here. I had the exact same feel, and it fit the weather and it fit the mood.
Yeah,
really, really well. It was surprisingly evocative.
Sure,
I thought.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I mean, I love it because I really dig the guy's voice. I don't know how you describe the sort of timbre he's got going on, but it's very distinctive.
Nasal.
Yeah, kind of nasal. Just I really like it.
A tiger's never gonna change its stripes. I guess. But Jesus, what a mess. One way in, no way out.
It's very gentle.
Yeah.
Considered sort of voice. It matches the lyrics really well. It's got a kind of really good narrative to it.
It has. It's really quite impressively written. I think there's a real poetry to the way in which it's written, and it does something which a lot of the music I like does, which is it has incredibly ambiguous lyrics. It's clear that I've seen all sorts of descriptions about it that say, it's about, because the whole album is apparently about a bunch of people that he knew back when he was a drug addict.
Okay.
And so it's clear someone's disappeared, and men have come to take away things that used to be important to her. and there's a great sense of portentousness to it and a dread to it, I feel, and a tremendous sadness to the idea that men are very callously handling things, with their biohazard suits and the mud on their rubber boots, and they're just marching into this house and taking things that used to be important out of it, is what I get from it. And so there's a sense of real sadness to it.
Yeah. I did actually, and I was on a lyrics website, and somebody did think that it was a song about an explosion in a meth lab.
Yeah, I read that one, and I wasn't too convinced.
No,
it doesn't scream explosion in a meth lab.
I appreciate it, but for me the lyrics were just totally about the past tense, about things already happened.
Yeah.
I had this melancholy. I had this melancholy room in my mind that was cold and bare, and the person feeling much the same.
Yeah.
And just some really beautiful lyrics. The line about walking gingerly across the bruised earth.
Yeah.
And all the things about the men, like the faceless, nameless men coming in and taking all of her things, which are just things now, not specific possessions.
Yeah.
It was it played on that melancholy of things gone, things lost, and never coming back.
Yeah, which the acoustic guitar is weirdly capable of. It's just this. I don't think I've ever heard an acoustic guitar being played on its own, and just, especially in a plucking kind of way. When you're strumming, I guess it's different, but in a plucking way, it's just like, oh god, we're gonna die at some point.
Yeah,
that's what I get out of this performance of Hallelujah. Thanks, mate. Ruined this fucking barbecue.
You've ruined Christmas again.
I also want to point out the Mountain Goats have a real knack for naming their songs. Other songs from that album include Linda Blair Was Born Innocent, All Up the Seething Coast, and Pigs That Ran Straight Away Into the Water, Triumph of.
Now that first one reminds me of an anal cunt song, which is called Hitler Was a Sensitive Man.
I'm sure they're quite similar. Oh good, I'll listen to that one next.
Be sure you do.
Anal cunt.
You can follow it up with Hammer Smashed Face and I Come Blood.
What was the great one I used to listen to that had songs like Disgustipated? And there was, I'm going to look this up and it's going to be fucking, Disgustipated is Tool. Okay, it was something like Fermented Offal Discharge or something.
Cannibal Corpse?
Is that who it was? Hold on. Necrophagist, sorry.
Oh, okay.
He used to have great songs. Stab Wound, Extreme Unction,
Sweaty Discharge,
Foul Body Autopsy.
Body or body?
Father, can we body? Body.
George Ezra coming back with a hit Christmas anthem.
The hit Christmas thrasher.
Foul Body Autopsy.
Oh, fuck me.
Oh, God.
Onset of Putrefaction. So maybe these were like a bunch of guys working in a morgue. And they were just like, you know what? They were looking through the report. Onset of Putrefaction.
Hang on.
There's a hit song in this one. Come on, lads, grab your guitars.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's great.
How do you spell that,
Brilliant.
Graham?
Yes, great, lads. Brilliant. Thanks, Dad.
Well, I'm glad you liked your Belgian things anyway. By
the
Mountain Goats.
How could I not?
I can see you in my sleep, playing the points for all you're worth, walking gingerly across the bruised earth.
It's a lovely song. And after that, just sort of idly chatting with you, I mentioned Pure Comedy by Father John Mystery, which you also really liked.
Yes.
So I could have just done this sincerely. I could have just done the thing that you asked me to and just named 3 songs. Oh, well.
You could have done it genuinely, but you also did do it genuinely, I think, because you recommended some stuff that I liked.
I wouldn't have thought you'd have, have gotten much out of Led Zeppelin and Ariana Grande, and I'm delighted that you did. So I'd say this was, in spite of the initial scorn I hurled at you, I think this was a successful experiment, sir.
You heard that right, listeners. This podcast was a success.
In spite of what you may have heard and thought.
For the last hour.
In spite of overwhelming evidence.
You're wrong.
We had fun.
Didn't we?
And that was the one benefit? I don't know where we are.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye. is there anything else to say on music? You write music sometimes.
Yeah,
You write-
I do
you've written all the
occasionally.
music for
I mean,
this?
written all the music for this and other things. I've got a whole bunch of songs just waiting to be used that I wrote in the past,
In more podcasts that we do.
and a whole bunch that I've lost. I also occasionally play the guitar and write songs on that.
Lovely.
But I hadn't had the conviction needed or the lack of self-awareness to perform it for anyone except
right now, gang. That's right. Playing us out. It's Paul Goodman.
Yeah, no, haven't played the guitar to anyone for a while. The last time I did it was when I was trying to seduce Nell. It's the only thing music's good for.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone we've mentioned has just been trying to get laid.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande, famous for it.
Yeah, she's got nothing. No one wants her.
Nothing going for her. No, you know what? I'm sick of stunning looks, said the world. Can't have any more of these just drop-dead, fluorescent women. Get rid of them.
Flawlessly fluorescent women with their powerful voices.
Yeah, no. Not having it.
Craving perfection. Yeah.
Give me George Ezra and his poopy butt. Believe it or not, fans, I think we're winding down. Thank you for listening to us waffle on about something we know even less about than usual.
Yeah, it's interesting for us at least.
Yeah, and
thanks for that.
I hope that as a result of having done this episode, I don't know, maybe you'll have reflected a little on your own musical tastes and thought about broadening them a bit. Because it's overwhelming. But it could do with being just a little bit more overwhelming.
I know, I think that.
Paul, where can people find out even more about this?
Well, you can do that on Twitter and Facebook now.
Both?
Yes, apparently. David Cameron finally relented. He said the referendum doesn't stand.
I was wrong. I was a bloody fool.
Yeah. 2 social media sites. Won't hear of it. But it is now on both social media sites.
Yeah.
Both world-renowned media sites, Twitter and Facebook. And you can get there at OGT Pods. You can send us an email at Gmail. Just realised they rhyme. Which is ogtpod@gmail.com. Find us on iTunes and all the other places. There's a lot of it about.
But not that one.
Oh yeah, but the last 3 things, except for the middle one, don't pay attention to that.
You will get a virus,
But
you're going to get scammed.
Yeah. Which ones were they? Don't rewind it, otherwise the whole thing's null and void.
Then you'll get scammed. Look, you're probably going to get scammed. Be safe. Be astute. And give Ariana Grande another shot.
Oh, and also, if anyone has any feedback on the pilot episode of Film Tool Combat...
Yes, please.
...that they wouldn't mind sharing with us, do send it our way. We're really curious. There's been something that we've been thinking about trying for a long time.
It is.
And finally got the first episode off the ground. We would love to do some more of them. And if people are feeling as positively about it as we are...
Yeah.
It'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah, it'd be good to get this off the ground. Okay, excellent. I'm Paul Salt.
I'm Paul Goodman.
And remember, one good thing about music... What the fuck are we doing?